Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Sammons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Lauren O'Carroll, the founder of Positively Parenting, a parenting coach and education platform dedicated to helping parents move away from reactive, guilt-driven parenting and towards calm, confident, connected family life. Through their work, Positively Parenting supports mums, dads, and caregivers who feel overwhelmed, unsure, or stuck in repeating patterns, offering practical tools grounded in emotional regulation, child development, and compassionate communication. The focus isn't on being perfect parents, but on being present and regulated ones. Lauren, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me today. Such a pleasure to have you here.
I've done my first ADHD thing already and interrupted you.
It's all right. There's a delay on Zoom. I do it all the time, so do not worry about it. But let's dive into this. I'm really excited. So, with all my guests, I do actually like to start at the beginning of their journey. So if you don't mind, briefly take me back to what it was you was doing before you started up Positively Parenting. And then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Sure. So I have ADHD. So I have had a typical ADHD career, which means basically changing jobs very frequently. So I have been a president of a student union. I work for the UN Environment Programme. I've run advocacy services across the east of England. I was in the NHS as an operations manager for about 10 years. And then I had children. Well, during the NHS job, I had children and kind of hoped that when I had children, this kind of maternal instinct would somehow turn me into a proper adult and I would be able to be more emotionally regulated and be like all the mums I saw. But actually what I discovered is sleep deprivation, poor food choices, etc., all the things that happen when you're a new parent, just exacerbated my ADHD and I became more explosive. I found everything harder. And this kind of idea of becoming a proper mum didn't really happen in the way I wanted it to. And I was looking everywhere for resources to sort of help me to manage parenting as somebody who had ADHD. And all I could find, and I found so much, books and books and books about how to parent your neurodivergent child, how to parent your ADHD child. And while it was likely that my kids would be neurodivergent, because I am, and I kind of knew that, and they were already presenting as kind of a bit extra, none of it was pitched at people who have executive function challenges themselves. So yeah, I found this massive kind of chasm, and that kind of just started me thinking. And about 3 or 4 years later, I sort of took the dive and started this.
Yeah, awesome. And there is a big gap and a big chasm is a great word for it because there's a lot of work coming out about ADHD, but not obviously being parenting with it because it's more so people are focusing, on the work life, how ADHD affects your work, how it affects your job, how it affects your home, how maybe it affects your schooling. But if you're a parent with ADHD, it's a massive disadvantage in that word, but it's a massive conflict compared to obviously having a neurodivergent brain compared to having a divergent brain. So it's just that correlation. How do we kind of suit that? And then obviously recognize it in your kids as well. It must be, again, how do we walk the line so we're both not triggering each other so everything's kind of not spoiling over the network and just moving forward. So let's dive
Yeah.
into it a little bit more. I'm very intrigued to find out. So, like, obviously, are we still kind of focusing on working with parents like yourself with ADHD to help come through? Like, who would you say is your ideal customer? And then from there, how is you help them and how do you support them along that journey?
Yeah. So I mean, I work with many different kinds of parents. Most of the time, one of them is ADHD, or autistic. Um, but they don't necessarily know that when they've started working with me. So I guess I talk about ADHD a lot, or I talk about explosivity a lot. I talk about impulsivity, kind of the challenges with kind of organizing your life as a parent, which I think resonates with a lot of parents generally because our lives are just so busy now.
Mm.
But often I get parents coming to me and they'll say, I think my spouse is ADHD and we'd really like some support. Or, I think my child's ADHD and I might have it too. And,
Mm,
we'll work together for 5 minutes and it becomes very clear that, yeah, the whole family is neurodivergent because we tend to kind of attract to each other anyway. So often if one partner's neurodivergent, the other will be. I mean, not necessarily both ADHD, but there's often similarities there.
yeah.
Um, and of course, when you're raising neurodivergent kids, the challenge is so much more. They need so much more emotional regulation from their parents, but that's exactly the thing that their parents are going to struggle with. So it's these kind of cycles that sort of keep going generation after generation. And there's really interesting research that actually is looking at ADHD not necessarily being a genetic thing in the way that we think it is, but it's more about those first like 2 years of a child's life and whether, that their brain is born more sensitive, but if
Mm,
they've been parented in a way that doesn't feel safe to their nervous system, they will then go on to develop ADHD. Now, if you're an ADHD parent, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to raise your child in a way that's going to feel safe to their nervous system because you're going to be dysregulated. So, my aim really kind of looking really, really long term is how do I get to those parents before they become parents? How do we get this into sort of prenatal education? Because there's no point in saying that to somebody who's like, most of the people who come to me have already kind of got kids who are 3+, and there's nothing going to be gained by sort of saying, oh, well, if you've done this. So it's a real challenge, but your parents can be of all ilks, really. But I'd say my ideal client is probably parents with ADHD because I guess that's where it all started. That's my passion. And
mm.
I have ADHD, so I know viscerally and I live it every day how hard it is.
Yeah, it's that kind of recognition in you, so that's why you probably be tend to drawn to people more with ADHD because you understand it. I have ADHD myself, and it is just that point of, as you say, it's very hard to regulate someone else's surroundings and their nerves and make them feel calm if you're kind of struggling to do it yourself, or maybe you don't even know how to do that yourself. And
Mm.
it's just all about the understanding, and it's understanding between parents and kids and what you can do and the communication you have between each other because it literally comes down to that. It's not that we're different, it's not that we think different, it's not that we act different. It's just understanding that our brains do process stuff a lot differently to other people, and how can we control that and help our kids moving forward. And breaking that chain is something that you're gonna have to do. It is like, how do we get to that before they become parents? And even if they haven't got ADHD before, like, how are they going to recognize in themselves that they're part of that kind of chain as well? So
Yeah.
what is it like to work with you then, Lauren? So like, what is the support system there? Is this like on a one-to-one level? Is it maybe like a program that we can self-follow? Like, what does that side of it look like?
So I've got various different things. I've got a membership which has got two different tiers. So there's
Mm.
one that's like £15 a month, one that's £77 a month, and they just provide different sort of amounts of support really. So in both of them, I bring in a guest expert every month to come and talk to us about something related to parenting, neurodiversity. It could even be, I mean, I've even had a decluttering expert coming in who is an expert in helping parents with ADHD. To declutter their homes, which is something that we all struggle with. But we've had, dietitians in, we've had all sorts. So we do that once a month, and then I do group coaching once a month. And then with the other more intensive membership, I do the group coaching weekly, and they also get my signature course, which is like a 6 month self-follow type course. Um, you can also get that on its own. And I also have like a 6 month program where I take parents through that 6 month course, much more kind of one-to-one. Well, I normally actually do it with couples, which is the most effective way because so often what's missing is that support system and that understanding between each other of, where one parent might struggle, the other one might be able to step in, and how do we sort of tap out when we need to? How do we
Yeah.
support our partner when they're struggling without shaming them and getting them to react? So exploring all of those things and exploring how you can give each other space and fill your own emotional cups and all of that stuff. And that's where I see massive changes, the kind of revelations that are happening between the couples as they kind of do
Mm.
lots of quite intensive inner work around their past, the stuff that they need to heal the internal messaging that they have learnt from growing up, often neurodivergent, and not being understood, and sort of learning to have compassion for themselves again.
Love it. So really building that teamwork between the couples as well, which is obviously so important for her, that aspect of it. And as you say, kind of keeping your own cup full while dishing out to the rest of the family is so invaluable as well. I am curious to find out how you go about acquiring your customers. So obviously,
Mm.
it being quite a touchy subject involved in obviously in parenting, it's not always something people are open to jump that they need help for. So like in terms of like channels or methods, how are you like what are you finding most effective in a moment in really finding that right couple to work with or that right parent to work with?
Being ADHD, I'm a bit of a sort of spaghetti against the wall type person, which is, I know, not particularly effective. It's not, don't recommend it. Um, but I've, I'm actually in the fortunate position where I get lots of people coming to me now. So I'm not having to actively go and find people quite so much.
Mm,
And that sort of really ramped up since I won the UK Startup Award for Social Enterprise of the Year. So I won the national one of that, and that helped because I got the East of England one earlier that year. So that was kind of two big pieces of publicity, I guess. Um, I also have a partnership with the NSPCC, and I've done quite a bit for them. I run workshops and stuff for them, and I've had a few sort of posts which have gone a bit crazy on TikTok, where I've kind of talked very openly about some of the parenting shame that I feel, some of the things that I did as a parent in those early days that was not okay, right? So I talk about like slamming my baby down in her cot and telling her to go I won't say the word, to sleep. And I got a lot of like abuse for that from people and saying, I wasn't fit to be a parent and all of this stuff. And I also got a lot of parents, I mean, the majority are supportive comments going, oh my God, like I feel seen. Like finally
good, yeah.
somebody is saying this thing that I'm so ashamed of, that I've done this stuff, but this person gets me. And it was tricky, right? Because I work with the NSPCC and people are calling me like a child abuser. But the NSPCC were really, really supportive of what I was doing. And they were like, actually, like, we think you need to do this more. You need to talk about this more.
Yeah.
Like, people are not going to come for help. And this is why I did it, right? People are not going to come for help unless they know it's safe to do so. If they know that they can come and see you or come to the NSPCC and say, like, I'm at risk of abusing my child, so they can get help, then they can get help. Otherwise, it just happens in the dark. It's still going to happen. If you don't have the help, then it doesn't help to shame people. It never helps to shame people. So stuff like that has really helped. I guess going in other people's memberships, guesting in other people's memberships, going on podcasts. The big thing that I've got coming is a book, which should be coming out sort of, I don't know, in the next couple of months. So that's a book called You're Not a Beep Parent. Again, I don't know if I can swear on here, so I'm not going to.
Say what you want to say.
You're not a shit parent, you have ADHD. And that's kind of taking parents through the understanding of why their brains work the way they do, how to start to learn to regulate themselves, some exercises to start to sort of understand where they sit in the kind of
Yeah.
parenting spectrum and why they do things the way that they do, and also some exercises to help them kind of reframe some of the stuff that might be really irritating them with their kids, and then some simple parenting frameworks that they can apply for themselves. So I think that will be a really good way of supporting everybody,
Yeah.
because a lot of parents I talk to just can't afford coaching. But also hopefully, those who can come and get the support from me. And I do have a very low cost membership, so hopefully that's a way for people to get in as well. But yeah,
Nice.
so
And
that's
it's a
my
little
big
bit,
thing.
yeah, a little bit of everything, which is really cool. And the book sounds really exciting, as you say, just
Mm.
a great way to like reach a lot of people that maybe I will not be able to afford services long term, which is always
Yeah,
nice. And then yeah, just being authentic online is always such a great approach. You will get people obviously backlashing or whatever, but I feel like at the end of the day, if you can't be open and honest and just admit that you're the first person to go through this as well, like in your own life, everyone's still learning. It's my first day here as well. Like we're just going to go through the process. So it is about, as you say,
yeah,
highlighting it so that people do realize what's wrong and what's right. It's just about education on that forefront.
exactly.
Do you run like any form of paid advertisements or do you like push any paid ad campaigns or is it just purely like organic and just nice outreach from yourself? Like, being?
So
Or
far, it's just been organic. I am thinking about doing some ads. I've been told that I should be, but I've also been told I shouldn't be. So, I don't know. I've also got a documentary that's coming out that I've done with, I don't think I'm allowed to say the channel, but one of the mainstream channels on ADHD kids. So again, I think that will help a bit too. But I think probably when the book comes out, or like as I'm advertising the book, I might do
yeah.
some paid ads to sort of use that as a bit of a funnel, I guess.
Yeah, ads just bring a nice consistency in, because they're always kind of there in the background, so it just helps with that flow
Yeah,
on the end of it. It's
yeah.
just nice to add everything on top. And then I take it as well, are you still a solopreneur? Or do you have a team that may be helping you out with like marketing, back end stuff, funnels, sales process as well?
I have an amazing VA.
Nice.
She only does eight hours a week for me, but she is kind of my backbone. She's my executive function. She's an ex-marketing director, so she does understand marketing quite a bit, but mainly she just kind of is like, Lauren, stop. Like, stop. You're doing too many things, like bring it in. So that's
Control ADHD a little bit. That's what she's
Yeah,
there for.
exactly. So that's really helpful, and that's through access to work.
No.
And honestly, that's made such a difference for me. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm going into a partnership next year with a leading psychiatrist who runs a really big ADHD and autism assessment centre in the north, and we're going to be developing a parenting course together. So kind of combining my expertise with the psychiatry
Yeah.
side of things, and then also training up parent coaches under our framework. So yeah, when we get into that, we'll probably be looking more at teams. I mean, he's got his big team there already. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how that's going to look and how much of my time that's going to take at the moment. So I'm sort of, yeah, I'm kind of stepping into murky waters a little bit. I don't quite know what's going to happen, but that's exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say that's always quite exciting. It's like, kind of what it holds, but you can't see the vision clearly, which is always quite nice. So I
Yeah.
suppose with that being said, like with your plans to grow the company kind of scale, what do the next 6 to 12 months like have in store for you? Like, how are you planning to do that? Are you planning to sell the business, or what is your main focus like moving forward?
So I'm not planning to sell the business. I definitely want to keep it going. But I might, my membership itself, I would like to expand and just get more and more people in. I think again, ads is a really good way of doing that. I think hopefully the book will help with that. But that can kind of tick along in the background. I love having the experts in because I'm continually learning. I love the group coaching. It really feeds me and gives me energy and all of that stuff. So I really want to continue with that. I might just have to like start to taper down the amount of one-to-ones I take on,
Yeah.
and just be really kind of selective, start a bit more of a waiting list and that kind of thing as I go into this partnership. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know how much time that will take, and it might just be about kind of expanding my team, um, and just kind of doing the one less of the one-to-ones, but I definitely would like to continue doing some one-to-ones, particularly
Yeah.
with couples. I just think it's so powerful.
Yeah, so just kind of be a little bit more selective, but I love the idea of like a group as well. It's just the camaraderie that comes with it as well, because you do end up finding like-minded people that like parents are in that, that they can lean on others, they can support, they can find relationships. So it's always just a nice community vibe and a nice
Yeah,
camaraderie that comes with that as well. And not
I
just,
think
and
it's
again,
also so I think
no,
it's
go for
also the fact that we can, so we have like in our nurture membership, which is a slightly more kind of intensive one, we have a WhatsApp group, and when you've had that really bad day, or your child, you've just like lost it at your child, or your
it.
child's just had this complete meltdown, to be able to go onto that group and just kind of like go, this thing has happened, and for everybody to hold you and be like, you know you're doing a
Yeah.
great job.
Yeah.
We hear
Yeah.
you. We've been there. Like, you're not a bad parent, without having to preface it with like, I have a child who's demand avoidant and blah, blah, blah. You don't have to do any of that. We know each other. We'll hold each
Yeah.
other. There's no shame. And it's really valuable, I think, for parents, once they've joined that membership and they're in there for like, a week or two, they suddenly realize how not normal their situation is, because everyone's got very different situations, but how not alone they are.
Yeah.
When we're doing the school run and meeting all the other parents and watching their kids kind of skipping out of school, and we're the ones, being kicked in the shins, feels very isolating and very lonely. And then when you realize there is a whole community of parents out there who have that exact experience, it's quite validating, and it makes you realize that it's not because you're a bad parent, it's actually because you're a good parent, and you've just got kids who have big struggles.
That's it. And that is it. It's like-minded people in that space. It just makes you feel more comfortable, more like secure that you know what you're doing, and it's just getting through kind of the next step. And Lauren, I have one last question to ask you before we log off for the day. So if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. I think with regard to parenting, it would be just to trust myself more, trust that I did know what to do, that I didn't have to read 30,000 books and do all the summits and all of that stuff. Like, actually, if I could learn to trust myself, I've got the answers to many, many things. I think when we're ADHD, we learn very early not to trust ourselves and to try and copy everybody else. But actually, I think that if we can bring up that next generation to have self-esteem and to not have to mask so heavily, I think there's so much potential for amazing ideas and amazing discoveries to be made, because we do think outside the box if we allow our minds to do that, and it's very hard to do that as an adult who's been suppressing it all of our lives. So yeah, I think it would be that to trust myself.
I love it. Amazing. And Lauren, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do so?
So my website's positivelyparenting.co.uk, and I'm on Instagram, Positively Parenting Together, TikTok, Positively Parenting Loz, and Facebook. I just search for Lauren O'Carroll and you'll find me.
Perfect. Amazing. And thank you again for joining us. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to go and check out Lauren and all the amazing work that she's doing. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing, and we will see you on the next one.